So the DCAU, the old one, you and I both loved it, T.
Yes, we did.
We were huge fans. I don't think there's much we don't like other than, I guess, Mystery of the Batwoman, kind of boring. Not a huge fan.
Only one that I haven't really loved, but that's about it, though.
Pretty much everybody disliked Harley Quinn. Batman versus
I
Harley
forgot
Quinn.
about that one. That one's...
So you got those few, but mostly no misfires there. Some hidden gems, Superman, the animated series, great, you know? Mm-hmm. And then the heavy hitters everyone knows about. Justice League, Batman Beyond, Batman the Animated Series, JLU, Static Shock. These are all fantastic properties. Maybe weak points in there, but they're great. What we're looking at, though, today is the new DC animated movie universe. This is not the DCAU. I just always called it the new DCAU, even though I guess that's not what they call it.
Makes sense.
DC animated movie universe, which is now pretty much ending because... I didn't know about this till you brought it up to me. It's that Apocalypse War is the end. They actually confirmed that.
Yeah, they're considering it the end of the universe. That was the last one. It was their big expanded DC movie universe, and they're considering this the end.
Well, and we wanted to take a look today at like what it actually was in terms of as a whole, you know, because I have had some negative things to say about this universe.
Yeah. So I guess to kind of go through like a general opinion before we kind of start looking at each movie, and not necessarily breaking down each one, but just kind of what we think. Honestly, I think it was a good run, not a great run. I think there were absolutely some weird ones in there that didn't work. I think there was some odd choices made in some of the movies, but there were some that I really, really enjoyed, and there was a lot of highlights in this animated movie universe. So I don't know. I guess it's a mixed bag with this.
Yeah.
Is what I think.
It absolutely is. We're going to kind of run through just some of the titles as well. And there's also expanded ones. We went to Wikipedia for the full list just because I don't have them all memorized.
You are a scrub.
And there's probably going to be a few in here I didn't even watch that I still want to see. Like I know Suicide Squad Hell to Pay I didn't see. I would like to, but I just haven't gotten to it. So starting it off, I know Justice League The Flashpoint Paradox, we both loved this movie. This got us really into this universe at first, which is maybe the biggest kick between the legs, is the fact that it starts off on an amazing note.
You could argue it's the best movie in the entire universe.
Yeah.
You definitely could, and it's the first one.
Well, and I know a lot of people think that now of Apocalypse War, which is good. You know, apparently, you know, it's like a good start, good ending. Like, that's good.
That's fantastic.
But the problem is that a lot of stuff in between there is not great.
Right.
Because, like, you start with the Flashpoint Paradox. It really introduced a lot of people to the Thomas Wayne Batman who didn't read the comics, and that's fantastic. And even the people who did read the comics got like a version of that. They were very happy with it. They were very happy with Barry Allen's Flash, just the new universe in general and how it changed everything.
Well, and how, like, honestly graphic it was. It was a very intense ending that was it was, I guess, different from what you would normally see in the DCAU. It was immediately, we're setting the tone. We're not afraid to show you murder. Is basically what happened right away. They didn't really shy away from things, and there were elements of that in the DCAU, but
they would often cut away.
Yes,
yeah.
And this
it would be there, but they would like try to move like away from it, so it's like an adult show that kids can watch. That's what they were trying to be. This was almost like aimed at like, hey, look, if you let your kids watch this, fantastic, teens and up.
Yes.
It's almost like that's what this was. And in some ways, like you said, that's great. But the problem is if that's all you got going for you, that's an issue. And I do feel like that's the main thing this universe had going for it was we're not afraid to do something graphic.
A little bit edgier. Yeah, for sure.
But if that's your whole selling point, I feel like you start to lose people. Because when you moved into Justice League War, it was toned down from this. But it was still really fun. There's a lot of good character interactions in there between, especially Batman and Green Lantern.
Yes.
Like when he pockets the ring, stuff like that.
Yeah, that was great.
It was likable. I mean, this was already off on a good start.
Yes, for sure.
Both of these movies. There's not a lot to say about War because it's, I don't want to say it's forgettable, but it's just a fun movie.
Just a quality film.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's like overanalyzing Birds of Prey. At the end of the day, you had fun, you didn't. Okay, there's not a lot in between there.
That's it, yeah.
You know?
You don't need a deep dive.
We're not going for Citizen Kane on this one. When we got to Son of Batman, this is where, to me, the cracks started to show in the universe. Because this was such a mediocre film, I thought.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think the problem with me was that Damian Wayne, to be honest with you, I think that he grew to be, which is weird because I really didn't like him at the beginning of this universe. But for me, Later on, I actually started to not hate him as much.
Oh yeah, by Apocalypse War, he's likable.
He's very likable, and so I think that was great that they developed him. But he was really, I think, a problem for me in this film. And I think the dynamic with him and Bruce was interesting, but it wasn't it was definitely a drop down in quality and interesting content compared to Flashpoint Paradox, and even I would say it's a little below Justice League War for me.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yes.
And that's a problem.
Yeah.
Throne of Atlantis, I've got to be honest with you, I don't remember all of. Now, it's been a long time since I watched that movie. I didn't love it. That's sort of the reason why I have not gone back to it much, but it's been years since I've even seen this film. It's not the best, but it's not bad either. That's the thing, is I really remember this being just a different version of kind of what we got in the Justice League DC animated universe cartoon in terms of Aquaman's origin. It's a little bit like the wandering nomad Aquaman combined with that, so it's not exactly the same story at all. But I always preferred that version of it that we got in the Justice League cartoon. And when I watched this movie, I remember just liking it. It never stuck with me enough to go back and rewatch, but it's not bad. And this is, again, to me, where I started to see, like, oh, they're pumping out movies to get them out there, you know, versus, like, the DCAU was slow and took its time, the original. And that's one of the things that made it great. Now, do we not get much of it anymore? You know, it's like we get a new movie every few years, maybe. Yeah, but I'd rather have that and have them be good.
Right.
Because, like, Fatal 5, I would say Fatal 5 was up there for me with, like, the Flashpoint Paradox in terms of a movie. It's one of my favorite DC animated films because it was able to just bring back the old DCAU, Justice League Unlimited, just be like, hey, here's basically a two-parter in the form of a movie. Here you go. It's fun. It's great. You're going to have a good time. And I didn't really get that out of this universe, especially up to this point, other than Paradox.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. I think you look at, like, the DCAU and even that Fatal 5 movie, they're able to capture that vibe and the magic of that era very well, is from what I've seen.
Even Batman and Harley Quinn. I'm not saying it's good, but there's elements there of charm.
There definitely is.
Where you're like, oh, that's fun, you know, but there was not a lot of that in this universe to this point. Bad Blood's a really good example of that you wanted to talk about, just how forgettable it was.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot going on there. It's basically, the idea is that Batman's gone and that Nightwing, Robin, Batwoman, and Batwing are there. And so it's fine again, but really there's nothing memorable going on there. The main villain is Talia al Ghul. It's supposed to be, I guess, kind of a cool connection between Damian and his mom, and that's supposed to be kind of the big thrill there. But for me, it didn't really work. I didn't enjoy this movie as much. I think Nightwing is a really fun character, and it was cool to see him in a leading role.
It's also weird to bring Batwing out of nowhere. Because he didn't matter at all in this universe. They're like, hey, Batwing. And you're like, okay, but like Batwing could be cool. Like there's cool Batwing comics in the New 52. He doesn't have to be a loser.
No.
But like they kind of just bring him up like, hey, Batwing. And they're like, hey, Batwoman. And it's like, but we haven't seen them yet. Do something with them. They do more with Batwoman.
They do. But there's not a lot of build-up, like you said. There's not a lot of context. There's not a lot of depth there. It's just, we're going to throw these guys in to fill up some content.
You can say the same thing about Justice League Dark later on, which we haven't gotten to yet, but they build those characters up over a few movies.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, it's a little different to me than we drop them in, now they're gone. Because Batwoman and like Batwing really don't matter after this point in the universe at all.
For sure. I 100% agree.
I also thought that after this, I hate this movie. Justice League versus Teen Titans is my least favorite movie in this entire universe.
We watched it together and laughed through the whole thing. It was so bad.
It's terrible.
It's bad dialogue. It's bad story.
It's so sad because Raven is so cool.
Yeah.
I love Raven as a character. She is awesome. But they made her into like just nothing. I don't know really how to describe it fully. I mean, like the dialogue about like what happened to her mother is cringy. It should be like, it should be really dark. I mean, basically her mom got raped by a demon.
Yeah.
If we're just going full on, you know, out there, that happened.
Yeah.
And even that, they're not able to really stick the landing on it where you take it seriously. You're just like, wow, this is like really trying hard to be. I know I say edgy a lot, but that's what it felt like it was trying to be. Instead of explaining what happened as like a tragedy, it was like, we're just going to drop this bombshell. By the way, it doesn't matter anymore. We just wanted to bring it up because we are not afraid to mention it. And again, that's another aspect of this universe is like, we're not afraid to mention that stuff. And it's like, okay, but you don't do anything with it. I mean, I'm not saying I want like a 5 movie arc about that story.
Right.
You know, I don't,
Right.
because then I'm watching hentai. But the point is that, like, I want them to, if they're going to bring up these mature topics, do something with it. Don't just name drop, okay, it doesn't matter anymore, move on. I mean, and again, I feel like Raven, which they were trying to make matter in this, I guess there's like some stuff with the Teen Titans, obviously in the Judas contract, but really didn't matter again until Apocalypse War now with the connections with Damien. It's just weird to me. We're not going to get into like spoilers for Apocalypse War in this. I should have said that at the beginning of anything major, but like other than maybe mentioning like I just did characters that are in it.
Right.
But because, I don't know, it's really new. But like this was such a bad movie. And honestly, this turned me off to the Teen Titans branch of this universe. I don't remember if I even saw the full Judas contract or if I just watched clips.
I think I just watched clips too. And I think that one of the many problems with that movie is the dialogue and how cringy, because the Teen Titans, especially in like the shows, are normally very charming and witty, and there's some actual good humor and fun in there. In this movie, I had no sense of that at all. It was more sort of like really weird humor that didn't click at all, and it didn't really seem like Beast Boy especially sticks out to me.
There was a random montage in the middle where they're all at the carnival trying to have fun, but it didn't fit into the movie.
No.
This movie didn't know what tone it wanted. Like, it goes from, like, talking about, like, what happened to Raven's mom to, like, fun at a carnival. Like, it's just, like, back and forth. Like, where are you going with this? What do you want to do? And that works sometimes in movies. I mean, people applaud the MCU for that, going back and forth between Thanos murdering a guy and Tony Stark cracking a joke.
Yes.
I mean, you're able to provide levity, but like this didn't have the charm to provide levity, in my opinion, in the script. We talked a little bit about the Judas contract. I don't think we have a lot to say about that. Suicide Squad Hell to Pay, I've never seen. I'm going to admit that right now. That's the one movie on this list I know I just did not watch.
Yeah, for sure. Me too. I'd like to. I'd really like to. I remember the last Suicide Squad movie I think I watched besides
Assault on Arkham, that's supposedly canon to Arkham, and Arkham fans will argue back and forth heavily about that. Yeah, that was a fun movie.
That one was good, but that's the last one really that I've seen. Otherwise, I did not watch Hell to Pay. I still want to, and I think I have it. I actually went and bought the, on Amazon, they were selling like $100 edition of like 30 DC movies, and most of these movies are in there.
Sadly, it didn't come out when Apocalypse War was done, because that would have been nice to just get the whole thing.
And have the whole collection, yeah.
But I think yours stopped at... Did yours stop at Suicide Squad Hell to Pay, or did it stop after like Death of Superman? Maybe?
I think it was either Hell to Pay or Judas Contract. It did not go up to Death of Superman.
Okay, because when we get into Death of Superman, this is kind of weird because they're trying to tie in this story that had years to build up in the comics, kind of, at least in different ways with like Superman's character and stuff, into a newer universe. I mean, by now it was years old, but like Superman wasn't as established in this universe. I mean, we don't see him that much. We see him obviously in the first couple a little bit, and then Throne of Atlantis a little bit. We see him some in versus Teen Titans. He doesn't matter at all, but we saw him. And then all of a sudden you're jumping to Death of Superman. And this character that was such a cultural icon in the comics who died very brutally, and it was a tragedy, all of a sudden you're trying to ramrod that all into this shared universe. So because of that, these movies are in a weird spot. I mean, they are really good movies. They're great. Death of Superman and Reign of the Supermen, very fantastic films. And they feel like standalone movies. They don't really feel like they're tied into this universe. At the same time, they are. And while they didn't matter in terms of what came before as much, without getting into any specifics in this video, these are some of the most important films in terms of setting up the ending of this universe that you could possibly have. So it's weird because at the time that they came out, were they very tied to previous films in the DC animated movie universe? No, not really. But at the same time, they went on to set up the rest of this universe very well, while also working as their own standalone film. They're very emotional, have a lot of action, and also really tie into the core of who Superman is.
As solo movies, I think you're right. I think they would have been better if they were kind of by themselves, but maybe it helped because I didn't really watch Hell to Pay and I hadn't seen a movie in a while from this universe and wasn't really connecting it, but I really enjoyed this. I thought the acting was great. The fight with Doomsday was incredible, and even Reign of Superman later on, I I really liked that movie too.
Well, yeah, and all those other like Superman characters like that kind of come in to like take the play. You know, it's fun.
And Lex Luthor shows up and does and he's fantastic in it as well. I really, really enjoyed Reign of Superman and Death of Superman, and I thought they both it was a nice bridge between the two as well. If you watch them back to back, it's really seamless. It's almost like a part 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So I really, really liked those two. That was a highlight for me in this universe.
All right, so this is meant to be an overview of the entire DC animated movie universe, and I definitely want to go back, maybe even review each of these movies more in depth over time, but today in this overview, there's not even time to get through all of the titles. So what we're going to do is we're going to end here. We're going to pick up with part 2, I believe, next week, actually, either late this week or weekend or early next week. Finish that off. And then I'm going to be posting an in-depth review of Justice League Apocalypse War while it's fresh in my mind, because I really want to dive into that one while it's still at least fairly not ancient, like some of the things that I get to. So let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. Hey, I love movies, so any other movies that you think I should review for the channel at some point, let me know too. Really happy to make this and excited to talk about it because I had a lot of fun. And I hope you did too. Be sure to check out the Let's Play channel in the description. Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, everything's down there. And I'll see you in the next one. Have a fantastic day.